Ready?
Yes.
Three, two, 1. Welcome.
I got taken by surprise.
You're the one who's counting down.
Okay. Welcome to the Gospel Truth. I'm Dean.
And I'm Audrey. And this week we are celebrating the 15th Sunday of Ordinary Time.
You're just chugging along.
Yeah. We're quickly moving through Ordinary Time again. It's been really nice chatting about Ordinary Time themes of like faith with everyone.
Yes.
And this week we kind of want to, I guess we'll kind of touch upon what we've talked about in the past few weeks, but we really want to focus on this idea that anyone can proclaim God's message this week.
Anyone?
Anyone.
Even you?
Yeah, even me. Even you.
Even me?
And you. And you and you and you.
Yeah.
But before we get into any of that reflecting, do you want to remind everyone what the Gospel Truth is all about?
Of course. So the Gospel Truth is all about Audrey and I sharing our thoughts about the faith, the word, happenings in the church. Hopefully by doing that, we can understand our own faith a little bit better, and maybe you, the viewers, can get something out of it as well.
Yep.
So we look at the readings. The first reading comes from the book of Amos, who is a prophet.
Yeah.
And had to do a little bit of digging for this one, get a little historical context. But apparently there's this corrupt priest called Amaziah. Mm-hmm. And Amos has been criticizing Amaziah because of his corruption. And Amaziah's like, get the heck out of here. I don't want to hear it from you. He's like, off with you. And then Amos is like, you know what? I was not a prophet. And I've never been a part of like a group of prophets. But you know what God told me? Go prophesy. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to keep doing it. Yes. So there's sort of that idea that anyone can be a prophet. Mm-hmm. If we think about, or if we look at the Psalm, Lord, let us see your kindness and grant us your salvation. That's the response. And then you can see, if we look at the verses, I will hear what God proclaims, for he proclaims peace. So it's sort of like taking God's message. And if we kind of continue with the prophet theme, kind of spreading that message of peace. In the second reading from a letter of St. Paul to the Ephesians, the one thing I want to focus on here is that St. Paul is telling us that God, in all wisdom and insight, he has made known to us the mystery of his will. Right? God is sort of trying to reveal to us the ultimate plan and his message. Mm-hmm. And again, if I want to continue with that prophet theme, it's all about sort of sharing what we know, those little bits and pieces of the mystery that God is revealing to us, and sharing that message with everyone else.
Yeah.
And then finally, in the gospel from Mark, the gospel talks about how Jesus gave the 12 apostles authority over unclean spirits. And you see this image where he's like, visit towns, go to these towns and say, wherever you enter a house, stay there. And if a place does not welcome you, leave and shake the dust off your feet in testimony against them. Right? Because there are, again, some people that are going to be like, who are you people? Like, what business do you have preaching here?
Yeah, get out
and so
of
there are
here.
always going to be some skeptics. But luckily, the 12 were able to drive out many demons and anointed with oil many who were sick and cured them. So the apostles have been given this amazing power to perform miracles in parallel with Jesus.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, really, really great set of readings. Again, very on theme, and I feel like with these ordinary time readings, it's a little easy to pick up on like what that theme is. Historically for me, like it's always been a little of a struggle, but I love it when like each reading, like you can kind of tell, and it kind of spoke to us really clearly this week. And the idea that we came to was that disciples can come from anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I did was I did a little bit of digging to kind of figure out, do disciples really come from anywhere? And I looked up, what did the 12 apostles...
what were their jobs?
Like, what did they
daily
do
jobs? Yeah.
before they just followed Jesus? And I think like maybe you can make a guess right now. Can any of you guess what was like one profession that the apostles did? Give you a hint.
Well, fishermen.
Yeah, fishermen, right?
Yeah.
Like that famous passage, follow me and I will make you fishers of men.
Yes.
So yeah, we had just some fishermen, just some random fishermen that Jesus saw.
Ooh.
One was a tax collector.
Tax collector.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Tax collectors. Nobody liked the tax collectors
Everyone
back then.
hated them.
Yep. One was described to be a zealot. Now,
Yeah.
according to this website, A zealot is someone that was trying to overthrow the Roman government. It's like a revolutionary.
Yeah.
All right.
Resistance.
And one in this website says that one was described to be a thief. Can any of you guess who the thief was?
It says it says here it's Judas.
Judas.
Judas was the thief.
Yeah. And there are a couple of apostles that they don't necessarily know what they did, but you can kind of see here, you just have a wide range of people, and it doesn't seem like really any of them were sort of like in the elite, with the exception of maybe the tax collector, because, tax collectors were always...
Yeah.
Sometimes they were like embezzling money from the people that they were taxing from.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, you remember all those like readings where they're just going into town on the tax collectors.
Yeah, they always make fun of the tax collectors, right? But that's the idea, right? Is that they have this wide range of professions, but all of them were united under the umbrella of Jesus and spreading Jesus' message.
Yeah, and I think that's really beautiful, right? Like, we really think about, if we're called to be apostles, how great is it that if like you can be an apostle and spread Jesus' message, I can do that, you can do it. And we all come from different backgrounds and have different stories that can maybe resonate with someone else. So for example, like if, Dean is speaking to someone and his message isn't resonating well, like if whatever he's saying to another person isn't resonating well, what I could share from my stories and my experience, that may resonate.
Exactly.
And that's great, right? Because, I mean, it doesn't matter who they hear it from and what resonates with them, is as long as they get it, right? It doesn't matter who the resource is.
Exactly, right? And that's sort of the beauty of our call to be disciples and to sort of spread God's message, is that it's that diversity in who we all are. We all have unique experiences, and we all experience God's message differently. And sort of the way that we then deliver that message to other people, because it's coming in so many different ways, it creates this really like diverse and rich experience that just makes God's message all the more like exciting and like and variety.
Yes, and relatable. I mean, we've all been there, right? Like, I mean, you being a teacher, I'm sure, and me being a student, like all of us having been students in one, like at some point in our lives. I remember going to school and I was like, this teacher is not making sense to me. Like, I cannot understand. But like once I had a tutor for the same subject, or if I had a different teacher, it like clicked. And it's all about the delivery, right? So it's kind of like someone can work for someone, and then another person can really resonate with another.
Yeah.
And it's really beautiful, because then like it helps keeps God message, like it's what's the word, like
variety.
Yeah, variety,
it's like
and it's super enriching, right? And it just makes it all the better to make that connection. And it also pushes forward this idea that we're all called to be apostles and spread God's message, but we're all called to do it in different ways, right? Some people are called to be priests and be part of the clergy. Some people are called to do different things, and I mean, this is kind of like the basis. Like everyone can be called to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to have an official title.
Yeah.
To make it happen.
Yeah, lay people or lay persons can also be prophets and disciples in their own way. Like, maybe you're not the type of person that likes to stand up and preach in front of a crowd, but you know what? You're an awesome family member. Like, you're a great parent. And the way that you live your life and the example that you set for your kids, maybe that is your way of being a disciple and spreading God's message as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, prophecy isn't just preaching all the time.
Totally. And like, if you're a parent out there, right? Like, think about how helpful, and if you have teenagers or or kids in their adolescence, like imagine how helpful a youth group is.
Yeah.
And like being like among your peers and hearing the same stories resonate with them. I imagine if you're a parent, like your kids aren't really listening to you or taking you that seriously, right? So you have the youth ministry and your kids' peers to rely on to, kind of close the gap there until they're ready to listen to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, so I think it's important to remind you of the message that we said last week, that it's important to keep an open mind.
Yes.
Right? Because if you buy the premise that prophets and disciples can come from anywhere, then it's important to remember that you should keep an open mind and understand that, there may be a message hiding in a place that you didn't necessarily expect. But also be discerning.
Oh yeah, but don't have an open mind, but like don't be be discerning, right?
Like,
there are a lot of people out there
like false prophets. Like, don't believe all the people that say doomsday's coming tomorrow.
Yeah,
like nobody knows that.
Yeah, we also just said that last week, right?
Yeah.
Or the week before. Like, no one knows the real plan besides God, right?
Yeah.
So really be discerning and really think about like what you know and what's your truth and what's our truth.
Yeah.
And that like someone saying doomsday's tomorrow.
Yeah.
This person doesn't know either, probably, right?
Exactly. So. And just because we don't know God's plan doesn't mean we can't preach his message.
Yeah,
of
because
love and kindness and forgiveness.
Yes,
right?
And it just again it enriches the whole message when we can share our own points of view.
Yeah.
When prophesying. Yeah. But yeah, so this week we really want to challenge you to find your inner prophet.
Yep. I like that. Find your inner prophet.
Yeah, you came up with it.
Oh.
It says right here in the notes. But yeah, find your inner prophet and keep an open mind. Be a voice for someone to listen to, and maybe also be like the ears other people's voices land on.
Love it.
I came up with that one.
Oh, yeah. Shoot. That's original country content.
Yes. So thank you all again for listening. We appreciate your time. We look forward to chatting with you next week.
All right, everyone. Take care.
Bye.